Hello everybody, welcome back to LizLabz. Today we are going to be covering crafting. All of the crafting benches, how you get them, how you get the mods for them, what do the mods even do, and the types of things that you can craft on there, plus where you can find the resources in order to craft said items. First off, in order to learn how to make any of your crafting workbenches, you're going to have to work on the Forge Ahead books. Well, magazines. Let's specify it's a magazine, which can be found right here. Workstations, 1 of 75 to get all of them. If you look through here, it will show you all of the things, all of the tiers you need in order to craft them. The first one you would get is going to be the Dew Collector and the Forge. The Forge allows you to make forged iron, forged steel, tips for your arrows. It allows you to make your casings for your bullets. It allows you to make all of that stuff. So very important item. And then on the next one, you get the workbench. During the workbench section, you get the workbench, the lockpick, the advanced bellows, and the anvil. Now, the anvil is... it increases your smelting speed by 50%, and that's how fast things smelt down into your forge. Well, I'll explain what that means in a minute, but it's how fast things smelt into your forge, and the anvil increases the crafting speed itself by 50%. So one allows you to put the resources into it, and one allows you to craft the resources back out of it. There is actually one more item, which is the crucible, and we're going to get that in a minute, because it is not in this group. It's actually the last thing in this group, and you'll see why. The next thing is the cement mixer. Now, this not only allows you to make cement. Now, concrete, the stuff that goes into your cement mixer, or rather, vice versa that, because I'm tired of having to try and keep track of which one is cement and concrete. But you put your cement mix into the cement mixer, you get your concrete out, and you upgrade your blocks with it. It doesn't just do that, it also allows you to craft sand out of rocks, which might be useful if you're trying to make cement. It might be useful if you're trying to smelt it down to make glass or something like that. If you need sand inside your forge, you can do it that way. Next on the list is the chemistry station. The chemistry station is a way of making cheaper glue. It is a way of making a lot of your really cool meds for later on. It is also a way of crafting gas. As you know, 7 Days to Die also has the ability to drive several different types of vehicles, and some of them are gas guzzlers. This place is set in America, so of course it's a gas guzzler. You need the ability to actually make your own gas. And then the final thing is the crucible. The crucible right here allows you to make steel items. Steel, forged steel arrowheads, bulletproof glass, that kind of thing. If you're wanting to put glass into your house or something like that and keep the zombies from being able to beat up on it, bulletproof glass is a good one. It's a very good one. I would be very careful about using it in your builds though, because it is FPS intensive. Most glass is, so that is your warning. Now, what it doesn't actually cover are the inserts for your dew collectors, because you cannot craft your dew collectors. So let's go ahead and cover what we can craft and when. The first thing up is the Dew Collector, which is right here. It takes up a 3x3 space, and it is also one of your challenges. So you'll be able to collect points in your challenge group, and as you can see, we are currently making gross water. That's why it's yellow. Making sure it's actually in the frame so you can see what it is I'm talking about. Yes, it is in frame. It will make gross water. Now over here you can actually see what looks to be an ice cube. It's called the Gatherer. It increases the cooling surface rate of the dew collection, so it will collect faster. The tarp, which can go right here, increases the amount of water collected each day, meaning each spot here, which typically holds only 1 water here, will now hold 2 waters here. And then the final thing, which goes right here, is the water filter, which basically cleans out the water. Instead of getting dirty water, you will get bold water, or whatever you want to call it. Water. This is what will come out of it, and this will come out of it. If you have the filter in, you will get this water, which is 20 water, 15% stamina, health is 0, dysentery is 0. If you do not have the water filter in, you will have 10 water, stamina regen is 15%, health is -5, and a 12 dysentery. Now, just as a quick aside, there is a mod that helps out with this, and that is this mod. This mod right here. It is not a mod for your purifier, it's actually a mod for your hat. If you put in these, it goes inside your hat, And then because you have that, let me actually highlight on it. It allows safe consumption of murky water. Not only does it not give you dysentery, it does not take away your health, which is a change. I think at one time it only took away the chance for dysentery. It did not take away the health damage. But with this mod, you can drink these dirty waters straight out of the jar. You can also drink out of a lake, a river, a ditch. You could drink out of any of that. A muddy puddle of water, you can drink out of that. So there is that. The problem is this water purifier mod, I don't know the exact stages or loot stages or whatever for you to find this. You can occasionally find it in loot at a POI. Typically, I would say the first time you'll see it might be at the in loot of a low-level POI. But I would say probably around the tier 2 range. You also might find it being sold at the traders, and you also might get it as loot from having done a mission from the traders. But that is an aside for you guys to know that what we're going to be doing is covering this. I was hoping we could actually get a chance to do this, but as you can see, we can add these guys, left shift, and then left click, it pops it in here. There we go. We've got all of our stuff in here and actually turns this mark blue. And as you can see, we're gaining a lot of water fast. So not only will we gain extra water really, really fast, we'll gain 2 of the waters and then, well, 2 waters in each spot. And it'll be purified water so we can use it. Because in order to use the water for anything in particular, you have to turn it into regular water to make glue out of it, to cook with it, to any of the stuff that you have to do with it. There used to be recipes in the game that called for murky water. No more. We don't have that anymore. You have to turn it into regular water. As far as I know, there's not a single one. We can check. Yeah, that's the only ingredient it has. So if you're actually trying to check the ingredients, you pick up an item, you don't know what it's for. If you click on it and hit recipes, it will tell you over here what you can use it for in crafting. Even if it's on a workbench, say, what's something? Say I found a diamond, I don't know what it does. And I want to find out. I'll hit recipes. And it will still show up here, Diamond Tip Blade Mod. I do not have the ability to use it because I need this book. But also these particular things can only be made inside the workbench, so it will still show up if you just check it from your inventory. Just in case you need to know that, there you go. Let's move on to the other workbenches. The very first workbench that it tells you to put down is actually not even the dew collector. You do open up the dew collector first, but technically the campfire is your first workbench. You can cook all of your foods, your drinks, your meds, your low-level meds, and then you can make glue and paint on here. Now, this recipe for glue is 7 and 1, 7 bone to 1 water. Once you get the chemistry station, this recipe asks for less bones, which could be useful. Now, obviously the recipes you are going to have to slowly open up over time using a different book, but I'll get all these covered in another video. I'm going to try and stay on topic today, which I am very, very bad at. But this will allow you to get extra recipes. If you need recipes, make sure you are picking up the food books. That will slowly open them up. You don't learn those by reading more Forge Ahead. You don't gain new recipes by reading the Forge Aheads. The only thing you get are the recipes for the workbenches themselves. Now, the inserts for this are the cooking pot, the grill, and a beaker. And there are certain things like grilled meat you cannot make without the grill. You cannot boil water without a cooking pot, and you cannot make glue in here without the beaker. Okay? And then next up on the list is going to be your forge, which is right here. And inside of this is where we've got our spot for our advanced bellows, our anvil, and our crucible. So we can click and put those over there. It does open up new recipes whenever you put the things in there. You don't gain the ability to craft forged steel from a recipe per se. You open up the crucible. Now, each one of these items right here can be learned and crafted eventually. Now, the bellows and the anvil are kind of low level, learn to craft those items kind of thing. Let me show you guys again, just in case. It is right here. So you can learn the bellows and you can learn the anvil. And they're pretty decently low level, and you can occasionally find these items being sold at a trader. Now, the items themselves are pretty cheap to make. They're not really all that expensive. But the crucible is so much later, you will probably find it as a reward for one of the challenges whenever you kill, what is it, 5 or 10 cops? 5 or 10 of the cops. One of the rewards that you get is the Crucible. And you can also get it inside... All of the traders might eventually sell it every now and then. So it's not cheap. So you have to have a whole lot of money for it. Most of the stuff is not cheap from the trader. And the whole ecosystem with the trader is a little bit on the side right now. So these guys right here, you do not learn to craft any of these. These can only be bought, and I have not seen them dropped as loot. That does not mean that they can't be dropped as loot. If you guys have found this in loot, if you wouldn't mind down the comment section right now, tell us where you got it from. Was it from a zombie drop? Was it from an in loot? Was it like a drop from one of the plane drops? I have no idea. I have not seen that dropped as loot at all. And these guys right here can actually be crafted. Well, 2 of them can be crafted. As soon as you get your forge, which is a pretty low level book find, you can get it, where is it at? 10 books in order to open up the forge, I think. Yeah, because 10 should open up, no, 9? 9 books? Maybe. I don't know. I'm still learning how to read this. I think it's 9 books. But it doesn't take that many books to learn how to do this. And you can actually craft. If you go over here to the tools section, you can do the cooking pot. You can make the cooking grill and the anvil. A lot of the things that are just metal related are going to be forged here. Like you've got your iron arrowheads, your bullet tips. You can craft out a whole bunch of stuff. There's actually a scope lens in here and stuff like that. If you don't find cement in world and you're not crafting enough, if you smelt your stone into this, it allows you to make cement. Now, what do I mean by smelting stuff into it? Let's do that. Now, if I wanted to, if I had enough clay inside of my forge, I could divide that up and this would smelt in faster because it's in 2 different spots. But since I don't, we're going to put it there. And just because I have these guys here, I'm going to go ahead and set them here. Now remember, the crucible is just for making steel, and the anvil is just for crafting. The smelting in thing is the advanced bellows. Those are the things that you need to have. And in order to smelt stuff, you have to have some sort of burning material. There's actually a lot of things that you can put inside here in this game that counts as burning materials. Let's see if we can find some more of that. We've got coal. That's a whole lot of time. We've got paper. Does not add a whole lot of time. That's a big old stack of plant fibers, but ultimately that's not a whole lot of time either. The thing is there are more things that will burn other than just wood. There's also, you can turn your wood into a log, which is essentially like taking 10 pieces of wood and sticking them in the fire. It's almost the same. It's not a 1-to-1. There's a little bit better of a deal if you turn it in. But whenever you take into account how long it takes to craft the log to put it in, it's kind of sort of not worth it. So far, I think per item burned, per time burned is the coal if you're in a place where you get a whole lot of coal. If you are in, say, the desert, do not use your coal for this because there are no coal nodes inside the desert. If you are in the burn biome, if you're in the snow biome, this is a really good one because there's a lot of coal in those biomes, in which case you're going to have an exponentially large amount of coal just laying around with nothing else to do, in which case, yes, definitely use that. And of course, you can use the gas in the game, but as you can see, it really doesn't do a whole lot. I mean, that's a whole lot of gas. Now, I don't know, can you put oil shell in here? Yeah, you can, but that's even worse. Okay, so those are all the things you can burn right here. There's probably a few others that you could find in the game that acts as a fuel source for these, but ultimately the best thing that you can find is wood, just because wood is usually so easy to find. You just go out, chop a tree, pick up some chairs as you're running through a POI and scrap it in your inventory. These chairs right here are inside every single POI you will come in contact with ever. And you can easily pick those guys up and in your inventory. See, it says scrap. And now it's actually going to scrap down into 34 wood. I didn't have to go chop that up. I probably need to move them out of my way while I'm running around and killing zombies anyway, because if you pop up and down going over furniture because your character doesn't actually stop at it, you're going to wind up missing your shots anyway. So it's a good idea to go ahead and pick those guys up, and it's free wood, so why not pick it up? Okay, so we've got our campfire, our dew collector, which now has 2 water in here. And we have got our cement mixer. Not our cement mixer, but our forge. Now, let me go ahead and touch on this. Okay, hang on. We've got enough to do something. Okay, say we've got our forge, but we haven't even found a cooking pot. It happens a lot in this game that you will not find your cooking pot. It just depends. It can spawn in cabinets. It can be on top of cabinets. It can be on top of stoves. There's a couple of outside trailers that look like hot dog stands that sometimes have them on there, but there are many times that I have gone days without finding one. So we have already smelted in. So we've got some iron going in and some clay going in. So if we go over here to our tools, we can hit craft, and it tells you it takes 31 iron and 6 clay. Everything in here is probably going to take an amount of clay, and clay you can find out in world just by digging the regular ground. Let's go ahead and craft that. And it'll take 9 seconds. There you go. And you just take it out of the output. And you can actually take everything out of the output with this little button right here. So if you're crafting up a whole bunch of stuff and you just want to come over here and grab everything out, this little button will do that for you. And then of course we can take this over here and you can stack these guys right here. And it's not going to matter. You can also make your grill over here in case you can't find your grill. Really quick, because a lot of the stuff that goes in here, you can see iron, brass, lead, sand, stone, and clay are going to be things that you have to mine for. Not everything, because you're going to need brass, and brass is not something you can mine for. You can't combine 2 different items in order to make brass, sadly. But you will wind up finding enough brass throughout the game, so don't worry about that too much. As far as the iron goes, let's look on our map. I did not cover this, and I probably should have when I was talking about the map. Each one of the ores is represented on the map. You see we got this light brown one, this is iron. This white one right here is your nitrate. These blue ones are your lead. These big gray ones are just big stones. They will be, here they are. Here's a black one, that is coal. Yeah, it's those. Okay, and the light browns are your oil shell. For some reason I was thinking those were purple, but apparently not. And you're going to need all of those resources to smelt down. The oil shell is actually going to be used on the chemistry station, but the rest of those you're going to smelt down into this. Plus, you also have... You also have clay, which you obviously need inside your forge, and you can get that basically anywhere there is soil outside. This top layer is usually got a little bit more health than the layer underneath it, so if you're really wanting to harvest a whole bunch of clay, dig down 1 layer and then start mining for it. And some of the biomes, like the snow biome, obviously the top layer is snow. Inside the desert biome, you're actually going to get a mixture of sand and clay, and then inside of the... Actually, I don't know whether or not in the burned forest you get any coal from the soil. It would be interesting to check that one. But inside the wasteland, the top layer is actually stone. So dig around and find out where all of your resources are. Plus, there's a couple of odds and ends that you can find inside the world that also gives you these same type of items. For instance, if you pick up the potted plants and scrap them down, you're going to get coal out of them. If you pick up the radiators, if you scrap down the radiators inside of buildings, we'll cover that at a later date. But if you do that, you'll get brass. If you scrap down a sink, you'll get pipes, and you can scrap those down for iron. You can actually put most of those resources straight into the forge. Say if you found some potted plants. Say I picked up a whole bunch of potted plants and I wanted to put them in here. No, there they go. Okay. I think I was using a POI kind. It's not the right kind. So you can actually smelt them in here and you will get more resources. Say, for instance, if you do find a radiator, you scrap it down in your pocket, you will get a certain amount of brass. But if you take that same radiator and you stick it inside your forge, you'll get even more brass. And the same thing goes for, say, I don't know, maybe you're not using buckshot, so you don't necessarily need that for your weapons, and you stick it inside your forge, you're going to get more lead per item out of that. Now, you're going to have to balance that with how much stuff you're carrying inside your pocket. Say you've got a stack of brass already. You pick up several radiators. The radiators only stack 5 high. You have to choose, do I go ahead and scrap those down and allow all the brass to stack on top of itself to allow me a couple of extra spots in my backpack? Or am I in that much need for brass that I need to bring those home? Now, understand, they only stack 5 high, so you have to come back over here and put them into the forge and then do them. I personally scrap that stuff down inside my pocket. At some point, you're also allowed to get like doorknobs or something like that. Is that even a thing before we even talk about the doorknobs? Okay. Never mind. They took out the doorknobs. Okay, never mind. They took out the doorknobs. Don't even worry about the doorknobs. That used to be another place where you could get brass. Places that you can actually get brass. Radiators from vehicles, radiators from your POIs that you're breaking down. You can also get it from scrapping down any ammo that you don't actually use. Say that you're never going to use the 44 ammo for whatever reason. Scrap it down, you get some brass. You can technically scrap the dukes that you get as money. You can scrap those down too. And obviously, if you're going to go in and use dukes, I would definitely use the forge. Definitely. Now, let's move on. The next thing in our list is the workbench. Once you get the workbench, which is of course yet another challenge, this opens up a ton of different recipes for you to use. All of your ammo gets crafted here. Your Molotov cocktails get crafted here. There are so many things on here. I would definitely recommend looking through here. A lot of these things that you might find on here, you can also do in your backpack, but not all of them. You cannot craft ammo inside your backpack or something like that. Some of the things that you can do inside your backpack, you can also do here as a way of clearing up space, so you're not carrying extra things around with you. But obviously, this thing is very, very important. Ammo, armor, all of the things that you might need for building your base are probably going to be crafted here. A lot of your weapons have to be crafted here. I think most of them past the pipe weapons have to be crafted here. So definitely a good item. And the good news is there are no mods for it. The next one is the cement mixer. You can do asphalt, concrete, crushed sand, gravel, and stone. Me personally, I don't ever use the gravel, the stone. I rarely use the asphalt. It's mostly just the concrete and the crushed sand that I use. But you never know. If you wanted to build a road, this is a good thing to have in just in case you want to make that. Now, obviously, you're going to take oil shell, and those things are in short supply, but it is a thing. And the next thing, chemistry station. This one, yet again, does not have any modifiers that go inside of it. There's no mods that you need to put in it, but you do have to fuel it. And this is how you can make your extra glue. So you got 5 bone to 1 water. You can make it with a super corn. I think I covered the super corn seed in the last episode, I think. I have no idea. But you can find super corn in a very few POIs, and there's a recipe to learn the super corn seed and grow it yourself. It is a very unique item in the game used for creating higher tier stuff. But you can also make oil. You can make your like car battery. If you're ever on the wrong workbench, look at the icon that it has here. So we've got the Molotov. This is a hammer. Say if we were trying to make gas here. Oh, it's not going to tell me. What else would be something? Glue. Glue. See, it's got the chemistry station symbol or the campfire symbol. Say I go over here and I want to make some 9mm ammo. It actually has the workbench on here. I can also craft it in my backpack, which might explain why the hammer is there. So, that is all of the workbenches. Now, let me touch on something else that you need to understand about your workbenches aside from what you do in them. Most of your workbenches, not all of them, pleasant. You can make as many of these as you want to. Say you've got, I don't know, 2 or 3 different types of ammo that you want. You're running something that runs 7.62, but you've got some SMG auto turrets that are in, and you need to craft all of the ammo at the same time. Having 2 workbenches is absolutely cool and amazing, and you never know, make Molotovs, the whole 9 yards, have several different jobs going, the whole 9 yards. Getting these guys going, fine, a-okay. The problem is this one, this one, this one, and this one, because you use a fuel and burn it. Aside from this one, because there's a fuel that goes into it, it increases what is called your heat map. When your heat map increases up to a certain point, it calls in what the game calls a scout, which people will affectionately call Karen or Screamer. And she can roll anywhere between 1 and 2 of her, and she can be anything from a regular scout to an irradiated scout on both of them, which means even in early game, as far as we have seen inside the HTML files, that even early game, you can call in 2 irradiated screamers before you even have a chance to get a rad remover mod. So be very, very careful with how much stuff you're running at one time. Or keep these particular items off when not in use, and or put them further away from your base. say maybe have a different area where you keep these particular items to keep your heat map lowered. As I said, this doesn't actually burn anything, and in no way is it immersive that this thing increases your heat map. None. Let's just go ahead and cover that. It's fine. We all acknowledge this. There is no reason why this should cover your heat map. If you were to, say, create a distillery, and that's how you cleaned out your water and stuff, I would understand that. Actually increasing your heat map because there is a fire involved would be very similar to a chemistry station. But I digress. It does, in fact, create heat. So, now, if you have stuff in there, like right now my fire is not going, I don't have anything going on it, this by itself just sitting here is not increasing my heat map. I actually have to turn it on, and it does not have to be running a job. It could just be there's wood on there and it's turned on. That's going to increase the heat map. If you'll notice, me standing next to it actually puts a symbol in the bottom left hand corner of the screen because my character's getting warm by it. That should be a very good indicator that this stuff is currently going. See, I'm getting warm. There's that symbol again. You can tell when these things are making you warm. Now, the only concern is this one is just going all the time. There's no way of turning this one off. There's no on and off switch whenever you're not collecting water. Whenever you pick up water, it just continues making water, so there's no on and off for this one. There's a lot of people who will create a field of these things, or a field as in 3 or 4, and just set them somewhere else, like next to the trader, instead of having them at their base, since there's no way of turning them off. But that is all of the crafting and where you can find most of the items. Like I said, let's go over them really, really quick. We have got our cooking station, and you can find the items that go inside of that either in a POI, inside cabinets, ovens, on top of ovens. You can find them in the hot dog stands. Sometimes you'll find them in random loot. It does not happen very often, but you can. And you can also find those at the trader. Plus, if for some reason you cannot find one and you have opened up the forge, you can craft them. And then we have our, and this crafts food, by the way, in case you couldn't tell. I don't know how much I covered that, but it crafts food, basically. Food, water, the whole 9 yards. And then you have got your dew collector. The only thing that it crafts is water, but in various stages. Either you got the nasty water or you got the clean water. And it's got 3 different mods. One that increases how fast it does, one that increases how much it can stack, and one that cleans the water for you. And you can only get those modifiers at a trader as far as I am aware of. Like I said, let me know down in the comment section if you guys have found this in loot. I have not. And then we have got the forge, which basically turns all of your raw material into usable smelted items. And it's got the advanced bellows, the anvil, and the crucible. These 2 guys you can learn early on after reading your forge ahead, and you can craft these here. I've got the anvil in here, and the advanced bellows is actually craftable inside the workbench. And then for the workbench, there are no modifiers, but this basically opens up all of your other crafting recipes, your armor, your weapons, your ammo, that kind of stuff. And then you've got your cement mixer, which is basically just going to make you some concrete. You can turn it into concrete and then upgrade all of your blocks. And then we have got our chemical stuff, which basically makes your gas, your glue, the whole 9 yards. Now, the only thing I need to point out is in order to make the chemistry station, the crafting recipe is a bit on the complicated side because it requires a beaker. Now, the bottles of acid, very hard to find, so be very, very careful. The beaker being one, always hold on to one beaker. Just place it inside your cooking area until you're ready to use it, but then you're going to need the beaker for this, and it is not a craftable item at all. There is no crafting recipe for the beaker. You cannot craft it, but you can find it. You can find it in loot. You can find it sometimes in medical piles and medical facilities like the poppin' pills, and you can get them from the trader and as trader loot sometimes. Not usually. All of the stuff that I say that you could possibly get from a trader as loot for having done a mission, it's probably not so much now anymore because most of the loot has been nerfed beyond belief from the trader. It has to be like a specialty job, or I think you're more likely to find the beaker as just a random drop somewhere than you would find it as a reward from the trader, because they just seem to not give good rewards anymore. I think that pretty much covers everything you need to know about the workbench and how to open them. I will go ahead and say, if you are looking for these books, the Forge Ahead books, there are a few places that you can look for that might be beneficial. All of these destroyed workbenches, all of these destroyed workbenches around the world have a high chance of dropping a Forge Ahead book. There's also several different types of crates that have them. Basically, if you take one perk point, and it doesn't really require all that much, if you take one advanced engineering perk point towards the beginning, you'll start immediately finding your Forge Ahead books. Remember also, if you put perk points into your lockpicking, it also counts towards that advanced engineering and therefore the Forge Ahead book. So if you're trying to get these fast, drop points into both of these, and these are open from the beginning, so you don't have to go into intellect to open either one of them. And then, out of all of the other things that I have learned, and especially in this series, none of these workstations, once crafted, can stack above 1. They can only stack as one thing. Like if I pick up this, it's going to take up 4 spots in my inventory. Whereas I can craft several different dew collectors and they will stack all the way up to 500. I don't know why, but they will. Another thing, you will see when I click on these and I tried to hold down E, it's just going to open it up. It's because my land claim is not down. If you, let me move over here. If you have a land claim and a workbench of some sort, in this case our dew collector, and I wanted to do this, if I hold E on it, it gives me the option to take it or to search it, so I can actually just pick it back up. And it just goes back into my inventory. And you can do that with all of your workbenches, your turrets. If you set up your entire base and then you're like, I need to move all of these things, but you can't figure out what it is that's causing you to not be able to pick those up, just ask yourself if you've laid down your land claim yet. And you can lay down your land claim after you set the item down. Say you go and set everything up and you're like, okay, I guess I'm just going to stay here. You can set down your land claim so you can pick up your items and move them around. I think that covers everything to do with the workbenches. We're going to get into some POI investigation in the next episode, so I will see you guys then. You have a wonderful day, wonderful night, and you stay shiny. Bye!